Once upon a time in a magical place called Northwest Reno, there lived a woman who was proud of her home. She loved sitting in her backyard looking to the vast expanse of open space to the east. One day inspiration hit her. She was in her backyard looking over her fence and thinking, someone should build a labyrinth over there. So she did what she was expected to do. She called the biggest little councilman in the world and told him of her idea. And he said, that's a great idea. We will do this. We'll take 27 8x10 color glossy photographs of circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what it's all about for this we use as evidence. This is a good thing. We'll have the views. We'll take the northwest view, the southwest view, and we'll get everyone together, and they'll all tell us that it's a good thing. I will get the city council, the mayor, the city works, public works department down here, and we'll build your labyrinth. She got a big smile on her face, and she said, well, how long is that going to take? We could easily get this done in 2 to 3 years for $200,000. And they did, and everyone lived happily ever after. But you know, at the first of this, I said, once upon a time. You knew that this is a fairy tale, because that doesn't happen in real life. But the truth is, there is a woman who lives in Northwest Reno, and she does love her home, and her name is Pam Dallas. And she did look at her yard one day and decide that someone needed to build a labyrinth down there. But what she did differently is she knew that if she asked permission, it probably wouldn't happen. Her neighbors might not think it's a great idea to have strangers crawling around the backyard. The city would certainly say no, because then that might lead to labyrinths all over the city. We wouldn't want that to happen. But what she decided to do is just to do it, because it was a personal thing to her. She didn't want other people to do it. She just decided to do it herself. So one day, she put on her Nikes, and she just did it. She went over her back fence with rake and shovel in hand and built her own labyrinth, and it is impressive. Much different than nowadays. When I was a kid, things were only impressive if you could see them from space. Well, now thanks to Google, you can see it from space, and you can also see it from your iPhone if you'd like to. There are even websites around the world dedicated to Labyrinth, and hers is on it. People come all around the world to Reno to see that labyrinth. Now, I suppose I got started with Be the They in the early 1990s when there was a big golfing boom in the area. The city of Reno was contemplating selling property that they owned at the time in the mountains, where Sky Tavern is. Sky Tavern is a local ski resort. The proprietors there had a very famous resort that stars went to all the time. But there was a can-do person at the time in 1948 named Marcy Hers. She went to the proprietors and explained to them that they should lower their lift ticket prices so kids could learn how to ski up there, explaining if you learn how to ski cheaper, you will grow your business. And so they did. And that's been going on. It's been a tradition to have your kids learn to ski at Sky Tavern ever since. But anyway, City Council was looking to sell the property. I distinctly remember talking to my wife, Dolores, about this, and I said, well, they can't do that. Thousands of kids, us included, learned to ski on that program. And she looked at me and said, well, go tell them that, meaning, of course, City Hall. So I did, and so did a lot of like-minded individuals who went down there, and we had a very lively discussion at the council meeting. And at the end of the meeting, the mayor looked at me and said, well, if you think you can do a better job than the city of Reno, why don't you try? So we did. We formed the Sky Tavern Junior Ski Program, and it still exists today as a nonprofit, thanks to hundreds of volunteers. And that was my first real lesson in Be the They. It was that experience that convinced me to run for city council in 1996. I surmised correctly at the time that it's easier to fight City Hall if you are City Hall. 1996 was also my first year going to Burning Man. People have asked me all the time why I enjoy going to that thing in the desert, and I've given numerous reasons throughout the years. And that's usually because Burning Man means different things to different people at different times. I've thought long and hard about this, though. In the last couple of years, it's come down to this. The Black Rock Desert on Labor Day is a magical time when ideas collide with reality. But in that collision, it's the ideas that survive. The people that go out there are the people who do things, and they aren't out there to ask permission. David Best decided to build a temple at Burning Man, and he just did it. Since then, he's built 8 more temples out there and many more worldwide. To some, burning that temple is as important as burning the man on Saturday night. Kate Radenbush wanted to create metal sculptures at her workshop in New York. drag them all the way across the country and take them to our remote desert here. Zachary Coffin wants to build art pieces out of steel and huge rocks. One man even wanted to build a 10-story skyscraper just to see if he could do it without foundations in that short amount of time. There's so much that happens on the play, and every bit of it comes from the people who bring it themselves. Not just the artists, but everyone involved. There's no water, no electricity. There's nothing out there. The only thing you can buy is ice and coffee. It's easy to look around and find things that people have done and see how successful they are. Robert Frederick Zenon Geldof is one of those. With a middle name like Zenon, he chose to go by the name of Bob. That's pretty counter culture for a rock star. But in 1984, he saw one news report and decided that there were problems in Ethiopia and the they that had to do something was him. So he called his friends together, formed Band-Aid, recorded Do They Know It's Christmas, and brought in well over 8 million pounds worldwide to aid Ethiopia. This led to Live Aid the next year, and over 1.5 billion people watched on television. 1.5 billion people. And Mark, what's his name from that Facebook thingy, has proudly got 1 billion people in 9 years. Mr. Geldof has stayed with his passion of trying to work with that ever since. But that was then. Who is being the they now? We have to look no further than our own state and Las Vegas. I mean the city of Las Vegas, not the glitzy, expensive, monumental strip, which is actually not in Las Vegas, but downtown, where the Fremont Experience is. It has the same problems many downtowns have. Lack of infrastructure, but mostly it's a perception issue. So in walks Tony Hsieh. He wants to create a downtown based on happiness. Usually people will hear that and say, well, yeah, that's great, but how's he going to do that? Well, first, he decided that he is the they that's going to do that. He didn't leave it to someone else. But secondly, he decided to put $350 million into it. But 15% of that total goes to arts, culture, and education, and I love that part of it. That's the piece that's going to make the whole chunk work, that $50 million. And I love the fact that he recognizes that. So you see what he's trying to accomplish is already making me happy. So he's already making his thing. Will it work? Who knows? I hope so, but what I do know, that what he's doing is going to change how people talk about Las Vegas now and how they're going to talk about it in the future. And I believe it's even going to change how they're going to talk about downtowns throughout the country. Let there be no mistake that I'm not pointing him out because he has $350 million to spend. It really helps. But money shouldn't stop you from starting. Money gives you the capability to extend your passion. I know that during the RePiano project as part of Art Town 2010, I worked with some amazing people that didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. RePiano was where local artists painted 15 different pianos and we put them all around town. People played them and enjoyed them. The energy those artists created on East 4th Street was so alive, it changed the entire community for that amount of time. Reno, as they scattered around town, the energy that happened from the artists and the energy that happened with the community was a perfect mixture. But the investment that those artists made with their heart and with their soul was no less than what Mr. Hsieh is doing with his investment. They poured everything they had into it. I still feel the force of the RePiano project around the art scene in Reno today. That was certainly a fun time. Yes, we did take the pianos to Black Rock City. Yes, we did pile them up. Yes, we did light them on fire. And yes, it was a lot of fun. But being the they is not about public service. It's not about helping others. It's about following your own passions and your own dreams and your own spark and hopefully getting other people to follow them with you. At the end of the day, when you accomplish it, you hope it's a good public service, but you don't go out there starting it to be a public service. So a lot of this is about karma. But let me tell you a second about karma. Growing up in the 60s and the 70s, I read a lot of books about the I Ching, tarot. In fact, that stuff was sort of required reading in high school. One day, my wife and I were visiting my sister-in-law and her son, her 6-year-old son, and we were in the kitchen trying to explain what karma was, that when you do good things for other people, those good things will come back to you. And she was explaining all that to him, and he looked up with a quizzical look in his eye and said, but yeah, what if you think you're doing a good thing, but your parents don't necessarily think you're doing a good thing? So I'd like to end this by going back to Pam Dallas and her Labyrinth. I've thought about her project for years. I've never met her, nor spoken to her, nor taken the time to show her how that has actually affected me. But I like to imagine her, or someone just like her, many, many, many years ago, looking at the sunrise in her little hamlet town in England. I imagine her thinking that the land just beyond her reach needed just that one something. So she got her friends together, she got her rake and her shovel, and went down there and did the job. I think this is an easy explanation for anything happening at Stonehenge that anyone's ever said. I think it's just people deciding that they're the ones who have to do it. You can't wait around for someone else. So I'm asking you, the next time you hear yourself saying, they should fix that, or they should not do that, put I in place of they. Or get some friends together and say, we should fix this, or we should fix that. So go out, be the they. May we all live happily ever after. Thank you very much.